I mean, I got the flying saucers, I got the so you know what that means. I'm Lola. Welcome to Faux Pods with Lola. Welcome back if you're coming back. It's part 2 for Paranormal or Pretty Normal. So last week I talked about spirits, communicating with spirits or making contact with them. Before that, I kind of prefaced it with a little something. I'm going to do the same for extraterrestrials. First of all, to think that we are the only things in the universe is not only arrogant, but it's just not logical. We have a very skewed view on what's normal and skewed view on what's acceptable or what's possible, I guess you could say. And a lot of that, again, comes from society and what society says. Everyone glossed over the fact that the government has straight up said, yes, there are alien things that happen and we don't know what they are. But they admitted to contact with things. There was no rejoicing in the streets. There was no high fives. I mean, outwardly, I was doing that to myself. I have always been fascinated with alien life, extraterrestrials, whatever term you're comfortable with. All of the times that there was something unexplainable and your mind just automatically goes to ghost or spirit or whatever, but who's to say that wasn't an alien interaction? About 3 experiences that I've had, they're nothing hardcore, but they were definitely, for sure, 100% a contact of some kind. Unless you're around someone that really understands and really is on the same page as you, it freaks a lot of people out. The very thought that we're not alone in the universe freaks a lot of people out. You have to pick your battles, right? So in that way, I feel like I was always looking for someone I could talk about it with. Actually, my co-parent, when I met him, we talked about it, and he actually feels the same way I do, which is like they're out there, they're here, they're even on Earth, I would say. There's theories about why you can see them over the ocean and why they go into the ocean and disappear. There's so much of the ocean that we don't know. The ocean is like space. Like, we don't really know what's down there. So I feel like that's a really amazing connection that humans don't really think about, or if they do think about it, it's with this scary filter, like, oh my God, there are things down there that are going to kill us, but I don't think so. I don't think so, guys. Think about it. If these creatures have technology to fly through space at warp light, really fast speed, and they're able to communicate not using words, and the technology that we do know that they have is far beyond what we have, pretty sure they could blink us out of existence if they wanted to, and they haven't. I knew someone that told me, allegedly claimed, that her ex-husband worked at Area 51. She said that there are greys here, which they're the little ones with the big heads and the, almond eyes, the ones that are most commonly associated with aliens. They're being studied. They've given us the technology that we've had, huge leap in technology that we had in the last 50 years or so. Because of them. Because of that, there's some conflict. There's some species, some of the other species are mad about that. So some of them are angry and some of them are trying to protect us. Isn't that so cool? We have galactic protectors. We have galactic protectors and no one's talking about it. No one's even theorizing about it. It's just, no, that doesn't happen. What? Why? I've had experiences myself. The first part I'll talk about, because I'm really excited to talk about it, my extraterrestrial experiences, and there's a couple other kind of paranormal things that I did want to touch on. I was sitting on my balcony with my now co-parent. It's pretty early in the morning. We had just watched a movie and having a smoke, talking about the movie we had just seen. And then this all happened within 3 seconds of each other. So we felt and heard a green flash of light. It was a sound. We could feel the impact, it hit the roof a little bit, but it was like it stopped itself and went, if that makes sense. In the movies, when flying craft, they stop and then they keep going. That's what it felt like. Or it just kind of blasted by and it just got a little too close to the top of the building. So that happened, and right as that happened, all of the streetlights, for a block at least, went out at the same time. It was just like and we looked at each other and we were just like, what was that? And then we look around and all of the streetlights are coming on at the same time. Perfectly in sync. Someone was turning a dial up. If you've ever been around streetlights, they don't do that. They come on like randomly and like on their own. It was so cool. And that was in Orange County at the time. Orange County is known for, it's kind of a hotbed of activity. There's a lot of unexplainable lights, you know, like the 3 dot lights that are right above the ocean that are like doot 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 right above the ocean. Maybe it had something to do with that. Like they were in a hurry for some reason and that's why they almost like hit our building. I don't know, but we felt it and it was a green flash of light and it was big. When you feel an airplane, you can feel the like it was that kind of big. So cool. So I mentioned before, when living in my car when I was houseless, we stayed at the Safe Lot. The Safe Lot was a hotbed of paranormal activity. I don't know why. I mean, there was just so much energy. There were so many like beings around. I was always being watched. In the bathroom, I was being watched. There was always something watching. I was standing. This one's so cool. It makes no sense. And it's so cool. Facing the main church. So there's a fence right here, kind of parking lot area, you know, as you go into the actual Safe Lot. I'm facing this, so the church is over here. I'm standing right here facing the church, and then my co-parent and a friend of mine were standing right here. Again, it all happened within like 2 or 3 seconds of each other. I look up, there's this red, it's like a football shape. If you've seen the movie Earth Girls Are Easy, which is one of my all-time favorite movies, their spaceship is kind of what it looked like. Oblong football shape. And it was turning like a blimp would turn. So it was turning really slowly. So I looked up and I caught it like mid-turn like this. And as soon as I looked at it, I went, oh my God. And I pointed. All of that happened within the same, like 1 second of each other. Like I looked up, I saw it turning like this. Like they knew I was going to put them on blast. As soon as I said, oh my God, of course, the 2 people I was standing with turned and looked. And then there was a fog that dispersed. It was just like a poof of fog. And then there was nothing there. Yeah. My friend that had been standing there is not a fan of the alien stuff. So she was like, she had to leave. She had to go like reel it in because she was about to have a panic attack, I think. My co-parent and I were like, that's twice now. That's 2 separate experiences when we were in close proximity to each other and something very unexplainable, very otherworldly happened. So we were just like, so cool. I always say the phrase, hi friends. Like whenever anything happens that I feel like is something I need to address, I recognize that just like any other kind of paranormal experience that I have. So I always say, hi friends. I know what it is because you know what it is. Like there's no logical explanation for a flying spacecraft to hover like a blimp and then disappear in a poof of fog, all within like 3 seconds. That's not just like oh, sure, that happened, you know, to me yesterday. Like, no, that doesn't happen all the time. So then my third story, again, sitting at the Safe Lot, just kind of chilling and lost in my thoughts. I was listening to music. I would stay up late. I'm a huge night owl. All of my best thinking and all of my best stuff is done at night. Mind my own beeswax, just kind of lost in thought. And I glanced up. I saw what can only be explained as pew, 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 back and forth between little specks, little stars. It was a triangular formation. It was far away, but I could see the movement. Could have been the bottom of a ship. If you've seen the movie Arthur Christmas, I don't know if many of you have or not, in that Santa's sleigh is actually like a spacecraft and the bottom of it looks like stars, so that if anyone were to look up while Santa was in a neighborhood, all you would see is stars. It felt like that, which in and of itself, that is a brilliant camouflaging idea. I feel like it could have been that. From my perspective looking up, I just saw what was going on underneath. That could be a star over here and 3 stars over here. And they kept bouncing back and forth and kind of like this. I have never seen anything that moves like that or that has that type of fluidity as it's moving like that. None of our modern spacecrafts do that. Like if it was a drone, but if it was so far away, I wouldn't have been able to see it. I just sat there like a maniac. There was a row of streetlights, covered the streetlights with my arm, like watching this pew, 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 like it felt like an hour. I don't know how long I actually did it. It was just amazing. It's one of the things I do miss about my hometown is that the stars are just, you know, immaculate and beautiful and all encompassing, and it feels like they're right here. And I remember being little, and it just felt like someone was watching me as I was looking at the stars. And all three of the extraterrestrial things that I experienced, where did that come from? Why that type of instance? Why not because I'm such a believer, because the truth is out there, I'm 100%. Why not an actual extraterrestrial being like close to me, or coming to me in a dream, or taking me on their spacecraft? Like, why don't I have more of an interaction when I'm such an eager viewer? And then the people that it just freaks them the fuck out, they get to go have an anal probe. Not go get to have an anal probe. That sounds like I'm not fetishizing extraterrestrial interactions. I'm just saying that's always been something that I consider a lot. I think about it a lot. I mean, those are pretty rad, don't get me wrong. Interesting. Big side note, I do think extraterrestrial life is just like human life. Some of it is very positive and accepting and open-minded. And then there's the other faction that is very closed-minded and very kind of stuck in the past and very not willing to change. That's how some of the interactions that we have are very negative. And some of the interactions that we have are super like heartwarming and compelling. So those are my extraterrestrial experiences. They sound pretty mild compared to some that I've heard about. I still am a believer. I still I get excited about it. I think the main reason I'm so excited about it is because how much we can learn from beings of that nature. What are your experiences? What have you had? Tell me all about it. Maybe it would help to share, even if it's something you've never really talked about. Talking about it with someone who's had experiences of the same nature, it helps you. It helps you feel like you're not such a freak of nature, and also that you're not alone. As I mentioned in part 1, there's a couple other kind of paranormal things that have happened throughout my life that just wanted to touch on for, like I said, for whatever solace it is to anybody else who has had similar experiences. To preface it, I believe that kids are way more in tune with their psychic abilities, with, the other realms, the other levels of consciousness, because they haven't had it beat out of them yet, if that makes sense. A couple reasons why my kids have had paranormal experiences. I meditated while I was pregnant with all three of them. That somewhat predisposed their energy to be like a broader scope of energy. And then also, maybe they came through me because they already had those abilities. I helped them hone them by meditating while, they were within my energy field. They knew I would be open-minded to it, and they knew that they could figure it out, and I wouldn't judge them for it. Maybe that's why. My oldest kiddo can see auras, not as much as when she was little, but she used to tell me about the colors that she saw. For anyone who doesn't know, your aura is your energy field, like the edge of where your energy field meets the rest of the energy, or outlying energy, or just empty space, negative space. So she would tell me, you're orange and yellow and red today. I'd be like, really? And that could be just a kid's imagination, but it would change. She wouldn't just say, you're this today or that today according to how she felt. It was according to my mood. If there's something heavy weighing on my mind, she'd be like, yeah, you're kind of purple and blue today, or you're kind of black, like you got a little black today. And she can tell positive and negative. She's an intuitive. My middle kiddo can for sure see a lot of things. At first it was a bummer to me because I know that feeling of like I'm not in a safe space. Like I can see and feel things even in your own home, in your own bed, you feel like you're not safe. So I've worked with her being able to calm her energy down and get control of her abilities instead of letting it run wild and her feel like she's not safe. And there's a time in particular that I know that she saw something. I think where we were living at that particular time had something very old energy. And I don't know if it just had stayed there and carried over. I don't know if it was negative that showed up there because of someone who lived there. I don't know. In our laundry room in particular, there was something that we all made note of. It's a laundry room. You're not in there all the time. So I would just, throw up shields. It was usually right behind me. Do your laundry, you ignore it, and you move on. Like that's always how I dealt with it. In that apartment, we were doing bedtime, and she was about almost 2, so she was old enough to talk, old enough to kind of express an idea if she needed to. And I was singing songs to her, and I was laying facing her this way. She was facing me this way, so I was singing to her, and then I saw her look up like that, look back at me, and she looked up like this again and looked back at me. I don't know what it said to her or did, but she looked away quickly and kind of, snuggled more towards me. I stopped and I said, "Are you okay?" And she looked at me like, "Yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine." Just kind of smoothed her hair and just snuggled with her and just let her know that she was safe. I don't know what she saw, but she didn't like it. There's a lot of different reasons why kids would have a reaction or look at something or, do something like that, but there was nothing there. She was looking at the ceiling. My youngest kiddo, she can feel things like me. We were sitting again at the church, at the safe lot. The church itself was, I don't know what went on in there, but it was like the energy in there was almost too thick to breathe for some reason. No one seemed to notice it. No one talked about it except for people who had intuitive gifts, and then they'd go in there and be like, "Ooh," they'd be like, "I know, huh?" So we didn't go in there very much, but we were sitting on the steps because there's a line to the bathroom. You can sit on the steps as you're waiting. She was about 3, I think. We were talking about something totally unrelated. She stopped for a second. She went, "Mom, there's someone up there on the balcony." And so I looked, and I was like, "Do you mean you can feel someone up there on the balcony?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Okay, are you okay?" And she was like, "Yeah, I just wanted you to know because I can feel them. They're watching us. They've been watching us this whole time." And again, I looked and I was like, "Are you okay?" And she was just like, "No, yeah, it's fine." She was like, "I know they can't hurt me." Smart. 3 years old. She knew. Another instance, and I will wrap it up with this, and I call it sparks. I noticed it in like my mid-teens, early 20s. It feels like there's sparks in the middle of my chest and they come up and out. And as they're on this last movement, my consciousness kind of fully returns. I start to wake up when it's down here and I can feel it kind of like a... During quarantine, I found out because I was doing research on astral projection. And for those of you that don't know, astral projection is when your soul will leave your shell for a while on your command. It's not like you get shoved out, which I'll get to that. You can train yourself how to let your soul leave your body and just go. You can go anywhere that you want to go. You can go to space. You can go, you're free of your physical shell, but your consciousness is intact. Maybe I should learn how to do that, but there are negatives to that. You can get kicked out by something else that takes over your body when you're not there, things like that. So I think I don't know if I'm ready for that leg of my journey yet. And when I am, I'll get right on it. So while I was doing research, I found out that sparks feeling is what the feeling is as your consciousness is leaving your body. So then I started thinking about all the times that I felt the sparks. It usually coincides with feeling like there's something in the room with me. The first time I remembered really where I knew that there was something in the room and I knew that there was sparks happening at the same time. I think it was a dream. I was awake and I saw my kitchen and I could feel and hear the sparks. And then I actually came to, I could feel someone standing close by, kind of in my periphery. So of course it freaked me out. Like, was my consciousness trying to wake me up so that whatever that was were they trying to shove my consciousness out and jump in? Like, that's weird. Time that was like the craziest was an apartment that something old was in the laundry room. I was by myself. It was just me and the girls were asleep. I had a cat at the time. He was kind of up on the pillow. I'm a tummy sleeper, as I mentioned before. So I was sleeping and I felt something it wasn't a neutral energy. It wasn't a curious energy. It was a, "I'm gonna get you, bitch" kind of energy. And I felt it right behind me and I felt it getting closer to me, kind of like moving incrementally closer to me, which that in itself, I was just like, what the fuck? And then I felt sparks. I felt the sparks. I felt it start happening and I started to panic. I was like, uh-oh, angels help me, angels help me. I heard this very calm voice say, "Relax." And I relaxed, blacked out for a second, but right before I blacked out, Scamper ran across my back, like right, kind of like in the same path that I felt the energy moving towards me. My cat ran across my back, which he never did that before. He'd never run across my back before. He'd run around me, he'd run, like across me, but never like across my back and down my body. It kind of opened my eyes and it felt like I had been dreaming a little bit, but I knew I hadn't because I remembered that whole sequence beforehand. I remembered the sparks. But right as the sparks got right here, I kind of, Scamper. So then I looked up and I looked over. Scamper was sitting facing the doorway, right in the center of the doorway, facing away from me, just sitting there. Cats are very much protectors. The Egyptians knew that. I've heard that in different countries still to this day, that's what they do in a new house. If they buy a new house, they'll just put a cat in there and let the cat get rid of all the negative stuff. Then you're good, which is really cool. And I've definitely seen my current cat. She's definitely chased some things away as well. But that instance with Scamper, with my other cat, that was probably the most severe, where it felt like something was trying to do harm to me. Maybe it was that old entity, whatever it was. It's creepy. But again, yeah, you have power over that kind of stuff. So to close out, so I'm not a huge horror movie fan. I don't really like being scared. I don't like the feeling of fight or flight in measurable amounts, but it usually has to be like a carnival ride or something like that. Like, I'm not huge on sitting in one place and trying to contain your fight or flight feeling. Like, that's not very, like, that's not fun to me. But I will say there are 3 horror movies in particular. Well, they're not horror, they're like psychological more. That I highly recommend if you haven't seen them. The Others, stars Nicole Kidman, came out I think early 2000s. Very psychological, and I think it's true to life. You know what I'm saying? And no spoilers. If you've seen it, I think that's how it is. The second one is The Descent, mid 2000s. It's basically a team of spelunkers. They go spelunking, which is dropping down into a cave, or cave exploration. They drop down into a cave and they're not alone down there. As someone who has moments of claustrophobia, that's a terrifying thought, to be trapped somewhere in a dark place with things that you don't know what they are. Like, I recommend it. The third one is Insidious. Insidious is one of those movies that if you are not prepared for it, it will fuck you up. Really well done, and I think it explores an area that for intuitive people or for any type of psychic ability people, that's. And as a bonus, if you've never seen the movie Legend, stars Tom Cruise, came out in the early 80s, I believe, mid 80s. Highly recommend that as well. Just consider the time that it came out in the 80s. It's fucking scary. Like, it's very scary. There's like lots of layers of scariness going on. It's one of my all-time favorite movies for sure. So check those out. I'll link them below. I'm really excited for any kind of dialogue that these stories open up. Have you felt sparks? Have you, like anything like that? Just share your expertise. So I'd love to hear all about it. I guess that's all for now. I'll leave you here. Next week, I'm going to hopefully be able to get a video to you on Halloween. I'm gonna shoot for that. It'll be an ode to one of my favorite horror genre writers. She's just my favorite author in general. She writes within the horror genre extremely fucking well. I'll give her a shout out. So tune in for that one. If you don't see me before then, have a wonderful, happy, amazing, spooktacular Halloween. I will be back soon with another one. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, notificationer, and I'll talk to you soon.